y'all, it's Quana back again with another review that I just got finished filming the intro for, but my mic was off. So this time, let's do it over again and say welcome to my channel. If you are here for the very first time, welcome. Come on in the room. So, here to talk about Bad Hair, the 2020 film by Justin Simeon of fame of Dear White People. And this film stars a lot of great people. It stars Elle Lorraine, who is relatively unknown, but it's got Lena Waithe, it's got Vanessa Williams, it's got Kelly Rowland, it's got Usher, it's got Jay Farrow, and it has all of the ingredients to be a great dark comedy, but it just falls a little short. So let's talk about it. All right, so basic premise is that Elle Lorraine's character plays this young girl named Anna Bledsoe. Her name is not not merely ironic, and she is living with her aunt and her uncle, and she's a young girl. She wants to be a radio jockey, and she is getting her very first box perm in the opening sequence. And as soon as I saw that opening sequence, I was like, already, I'm here for it. It's bringing me back all the memories of, hot combs, getting my hair straightened by my mom as a little girl, getting it braided, and then eventually getting old enough to where I could get my very first perm, which was going to make life so much easier for me. And my mom was doing my hair and perming my hair, and I'm sure that, and okay, guys, before we go any further, yes, especially in some certain parts of the continental United States, we will use the terms perm and relaxer interchangeably. Yes, I am well aware that they are not the same. So if you are not African American and you have stumbled upon this channel and you are thinking of perm as like the Elwoods, Legally Blonde, it's going to make your hair curly thing, that is not what it means for black people. It is going to straighten our curls. And I had a perm in my hair for about 22 years of my life, probably. So this scene was very relatable. Unfortunately for Anna, her cousin ends up burning her hair, and she gets a really bad scalp burn in her hair. And not only that, but her hair seems to be extremely resistant to the relaxer, and it doesn't actually straighten much at all. So fast forward to an adult, and Anna has her short, natural curly hair, and she is working as a VJ slash kind of like assistant producer for a kind of knockoff MTV company, and she is running or working for the black side of it, called The Culture. So this is very much like MTV in the 1980s with like Yo MTV raps and things like that. And she is producing this segment where they're showing urban music, right? And so she's involved in this world where it's mostly white saturated. Black people are kind of pushed aside. If you look at the building that they're in, it's a huge building, and yet they're in this very tiny wing of the building. Everything looks very outdated. But even as you go into this film, it brings back all of those 80s nostalgia, from the hairstyles to this character named Sista, Lena Waithe's character named Brooklyn, who had her big dookie braids and was very, very, very cute look for her. And they are trying to not only make the show bigger, but she wants to get a spot doing a actual on-screen hosting gig that she has been overlooked for on her own platform. And so she is trying to audition to get a hosting spot on the white kind of rock side of things. And of course, they're not having that. She doesn't pass the vibe check. She didn't have the look, right? And if you remember back in the 80s, what was the look? The look was the first iteration of Whitney Houston with the long curly weave that was crimped. It was Karen White. It was downtown Julie Brown. It was Jodie Watley. It was all of that, right? The big hair that you had to have, the extensions, and that look. You had to look like an 80s pop princess. And she definitely does not look like that. So eventually, what we've come to find out is that she is not only extremely tender-headed and sensitive to her hair, but she has not let anybody really touch her hair do her hair. It is just in its natural state. And she eventually finds out that the company is trying to revamp the culture, and so they're getting rid of the original producer. Can't remember her name right now. I'm so sorry. And they're bringing in Vanessa Williams' character. She's playing a character named Zora, and bringing in her character, which is not only ironic. It's not ironic. I'm sure it's extremely intentional that they got Vanessa Williams, because many people know Vanessa Williams as an actress. A lot of people don't necessarily know her for her music, but she had a huge music career in the 80s and 90s. And the whole time I was looking at her, I was just remembering like all of her songs that I used to love, like Dreamin'. A lot of people know Save the Best for Last, of course. So they get her to play this character that's going to revamp the culture and make it cult. And one of the things is out with the old, and out with the old, especially the hyper black, right? They're going to be softening everything that is black about this channel. And so she advises Anna to go to this hairstylist named Vergie's to get a sew-in weave. And so we see that it's at the height, or at the moment, where weave is becoming a thing. I don't even know that I remember when weave was a thing. It just seemed like one day we all woke up and there it was, and that was the thing to do if you could get it done. And if you couldn't do sew-ins, you got glued in tracks, right? Because you couldn't afford to get it sewn in. Well, before we even get to Zora's character, you have Kelly Rowland, who's playing this character named Sandra, who is like a amalgamation of like Janet Jackson and all of the other women that I mentioned earlier. And she is divine. I mean, she is amazing playing that Janet Jackson-esque character. I mean, they copied everything from like the Pleasure Principle. They blended Pleasure Principle. They blended oh my gosh, what is the All Right With Me, and it's the music that she does has kind of like the All Right With Me kind of rhythm to it. It was amazing. I wanted her to be in it so much more, but I'm still in my synopsis. I'll tell you what I thought later. And so Anna goes to Vergie's to get a sew-in because she wants to join Zora's team. She wants to get promoted. She wants to get her just desserts. So she goes to Vergie's, and Vergie's is played by oh my gosh, why can't I think of her name? Laverne Cox, played by Laverne Cox. And so Laverne Cox shows her her collection of sew-ins and telling her about how it comes from India, and how it was, given by these women as like an act of devotion or ritual for their faith. And people believe that you can, the spirits of the women are embedded in the hair, and they swear by it. And so she's going to get the sew-in. Well, Lord, honey child, when she's sewing this girl's hair in, she is braiding her hair super tight. She is sewing it in. She is bringing the needle, grazing her scalp, then bringing the needle straight through her scalp, and her scalp starts bleeding, and the weave starts kind of like soaking up the blood. And I was just like, there is hurt and tenderheadedness, and then there is like devastating pain, and there is no way in the world I just was cringing through that scene. Everything about the movie up to that point is amazing, because up to that point there's not a whole lot of the supernatural element. It is really just focusing on the struggle that Black women have had to go through as it pertains to their hair, and making their hair appealing, and making their hair appealing for white America, so that they can get better jobs, so that they can fit in, so that they can blend in, so they cannot stand out. And the things that made us stand out in the 80s, in the 90s, part of our culture, all had to be mellowed out to make it popular, what later becomes pop culture. So everything up to that point is just fantastic. And then she gets the weave, and then she goes home, and the weave is feeding off of her hair and off of her blood. And of course, you know the premise if you've seen the trailer. So I kept thinking, oh, it's feeding off of her ill intent toward other people. Well, the weave first starts attacking people, it starts to kill people, and it's literally like almost like Seymour from um, Little Shop of Horrors. Like it needs more blood to live, and it's getting more blood and being fed. It's growing and it's attacking more people, and it's basically the premise of the movie. And I won't spoil everything for you, so I will kind of stop at that point to let you know that the hair starts feeding off of people that it's killing, and it's growing, and it, as her career is thriving, it is thriving, and it's kind of rejuvenating itself, and now it is almost a part of her. So they have to defeat the bad hair. The first half of the movie is ingenious. Everything from the African folklore told by her uncle, who's played by Blair Underwood, who is phenomenal. It's so interesting to see him because even up till recently, he's been playing still kind of heartthrob characters, and in this, he's playing like an uber black, almost kind of hotep black, ultra black power, woke, super woke character who has gray in his beard and in his hair. And it's just interesting seeing him actually portray an older character because it's almost like he's been portraying characters that are slightly under his age. But it was amazing to see him in that role. And there's introductions of folklore, black people, when black people could fly. If you've not read that anthology of black folk tales, that part of it is phenomenal. And so it's kind of based off of the story of the moss-haired girl, about a girl who makes a wig off of the moss that grows from the trees. It tells all of that part of the story so beautifully. And so it's one half of the movie is a super serious Jordan Peele Get Out esque type of horror. It is a updated, glossy, but still retro Candyman. Like it lives in a space where it wants to be taken seriously in the first half of the movie. One of the things I thought was interesting for the cinematography is they film it in like a grainy quality of lens so that it feels like you are watching old footage from the 80s. It does not feel like a new movie. It feels like something that was on a VHS and someone pulled out on Thanksgiving and said, "Oh, y'all remember this movie? Let's watch this." It looked very grainy in that. So it was very reminiscent of the 80s nostalgia, um, which is good and bad because in terms of the seriousness of it, we know that in terms of horror movies in the 80s, the ones that were taken seriously, you have your Halloween, you have your Friday the 13th, first two, you have Nightmare on Elm Street, first two. You've got all those films that are serious, stylistically horror movies, not super campy, like they take themselves very seriously. And the first half of the movie does that, and then in the second half it goes into more of the dark comedy where it's the special effects are outrageous. It doesn't make stuff is happening that doesn't make sense. The hair is growing in a way that doesn't make sense, and it's looking a little less The Ring and a little more The Ice Cream Man. If you've never seen The Ice Cream Man, watch that. Or Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Like it's looking like it lives in more of that realm than it does in like the 2000s to 2020 kind of like high budget, scary, very glossy, very cinematically appealing films. And so it's one of those films that as you watch it, because the second half kind of plays up the jokes more, it plays up the comedy more, and then the storylines that they introduce in the first half don't all flesh out, and you don't get to see some of those characters that were actually very enjoyable in the first half, and you don't see the main character interact with those characters much. It kind of feels like it falls flat. What this movie could have done is it could have shown Anna's ascension a little bit better, how the hair was actually benefiting her. It does, but she doesn't really go very far in it. There's the moment of her ascension is so brief. It literally encapsulates like 3 minutes of the entire film of where she's made it. And if we could have seen her make it and then fall, I think that would have been a little bit better. Like, I'm thinking of Little Shop of Horrors and how Seymour in how he is able to get Audrey and the Audrey 2 to like grow bigger. I said Seymour earlier, and y'all know, I'm sorry, I meant Audrey. To get it to grow bigger, and he's like getting famous, and he's like achieving. He's reached the pinnacle, and we see when Audrey becomes insatiable, but he's still at the pinnacle, and then there's the decline. Her decline literally comes moments before the end of the film. Like, it's like we don't get to see her actually ascend super, super high. Another problem that I have is they introduced Sandra Kelly Rowland as a character who was interesting, so interesting. I would have liked to have seen. We see that she is a character who also has the weave put in, and it has changed her. If you haven't seen the video that they made for the film, I'll link it down below. I would have loved to have gotten more of a snippet of how the hair was reacting in her, like a nod of like maybe assistants who had been disappearing, like just something to suggest that Anna's not the only one that this has been happening to. And we get a suggestion that it's been happening to other people, but we don't see any evidence of that. Very briefly, it doesn't seem as though it's been happening with the rapid pace that it's been happening to Anna, and so that just kind of falls. And I kept feeling like with a premise like this, because Justin Simeon said he based it off of a lot of the hair horror lore that he saw coming out of like Korean horror films, which we know kind of take themselves super seriously, like are super heavy dark, super heavy dramatic. If he wasn't going to go that route, I kind of wish he would have gone campier. I kind of wish he would have gone like Rocky Horror Picture, Little Shop of Horrors, like go campy with it. Either go super campy with it and give us more of that. Like, let Sandra have more than one video. Let Anna appear on set with Sandra for more than 2 seconds. Like, introduce more of that. I just wanted more of all that. And then the film was actually quite long. For it to take so long to reach, for us to be on this journey so long with Anna and not to see like the real impact of the hair on her life, other than the fact that it's killing people, it just kind of seemed like it took a long time to get there. Like, they could have sped some things up. The relationship with her and the Jay Farrell character, I could care less. Jay Farrell is funny enough on SNL, but he just didn't do anything for me. He wasn't that big. Yeah, it was like a typical, this typical black guy who's like gotten bigger than her, and she's in a relationship with him, but it didn't do anything for me. They introduced Usher's character, and I kind of thought, oh, have her get with Usher's character. Like, let us see that this sew-in is like really like making everybody gravitate to her, like pull toward her or whatever. The message was there. We all got them. If you have had a sew-in and you are now natural, you got the message. If you have a sew-in, you still got the message. Like, it wasn't really criticizing any one person. It was basically saying, look at all of the things that we do to ourselves to try and meet the status quo, and is that really what we want? Was it better for Anna to try and bake it in whatever the name of, I still can't remember the name of the station, the MTV like station, or build their own? Like, if she had gone with the woman to build her own instead of becoming something else, then they could have been great and it would have been her, and instead she had to go through all this pain and suffering trying to be something that she wasn't. So we get the message. The message is there. It doesn't fall flat on the message. I wanted Lena Waithe more. Oh, and something I posted online. They had Robin Thede play the receptionist at the hair salon, and they did nothing with her. One of the best black comedians on television. And I mean, Black Lady Sketch Show is hilarious, and they didn't do anything at all with her. that really bothered me at all. Like she didn't have a single like really funny line in there at all. Like we didn't see her again anything. Um, Lena Waithe was funny, but she wasn't on screen enough. And I don't even really like Lena Waithe that much because in real life she kind of bothers me. Sorry, Lena, if you're watching this. But she is funny. She is like genuinely funny every time I see her. Like Ready Player One, Master of None. She is funny on screen. Her character of Brooklyn was funny. I wanted more. I wanted more of her so much. Um, Less of Jay Farrell, more of Usher. You didn't give Usher enough to do, and Usher is not the best actor, but when he's in his like horror movie bag, when like The Faculty, that's Usher's jam. Like, bring that, and I just can't say enough that they just did not. They Kelly Rowland, like this was her. She sounded good singing the song. She sounded great. Like, she could have gave her another song to sing. Put Found a way to use her more. They didn't even really use Laverne Cox's character, and I feel kind of bad because here we're seeing Laverne Cox again, yet again, as a trans woman playing a hairstylist, like relegated to a hairstylist, which basically she was in Orange Is the New Black. Let her be more empowered by it. Like, let her be serving this hair more. Let it be more like of an indication that she is actually manipulating this process. It's not just being like she's actually complicit and maybe even knowledgeable about what it's going to do. Like, I wanted to see more of that kind of thing. And have her go back, have Anna go back. Why would she not go back by there and like say something to Laverne Cox? I just thought that that was kind of interesting. They just had these characters that could have done more, and ultimately, the second half of the story, and they had James Vanderbeek, and he plays like the head of the company, and later on there's a reveal that he actually is like another character as well. But we see him for like 5 minutes total on screen. So for him to be revealed as like the other character that he is, it fell flat. I didn't. I mean, yeah. I got the connection, but it just seemed like such a lazy thing because the parallel that they made for him later on, it did not serve itself visibly enough in the first half of the movie, because while yes you can say he is running the company and therefore it's the atmosphere that he has set up that makes these black women feel like they have to do all of these things, he doesn't know anything about hair. He doesn't care. Like, he might want them to look that way, but we just don't see him suggested enough. Um, and for there not to be him to be the only like white character that has a speaking part. Like, there's a white woman that we see a couple of times who's speaking, but we really don't interact with her. She's kind of a background player. For him to be the only white character that we see, which is fine because we don't need white people in this film at all, it just didn't feel like he was very unnecessary. Like, even him giving Zora the job, it was unnecessary. She could have just come in and said, I am the new da 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 da. Mr. da 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 has promoted me, and this is why I'm here, and you're gone. That kind of thing. Like, it didn't need to be. It just seemed like a waste of Dawson. Poor Dawson. I'm so sorry, Dawson. But yeah, so that is my analysis, my take. I don't want to spoil everything because the movie wasn't horrible. It was entertaining. It was definitely like a C plus low B. C plus low B. Like I said, it could have just been. I love a good campy horror movie because I'm a scaredy cat, so I don't like real scary movies. But I was gonna support the people, power to the people, and I was gonna watch, and so I did. I will probably watch it again just to make sure I'm not missing anything else. Was there symbolism? Yes. Were there Easter eggs to other things in Black culture? Yes. Did it take you back to that moment of time if you were living alive during the 80s? Yes, it did all of those things very, very well. I think it was a good first attempt for him to do horror, but like I said, I just felt like it needed a direction. It needed to be serious or be campy, and if it was going to be campy, which it ended up being campy at the end, they should have given us more of the campiness up front instead of like serious, 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 serious. Oh, campy and silly at the end. So that is my take on Bad Hair. It is playing right now on Hulu. Did you watch it? What did you think? Did you enjoy it? Were you like, And what are some of your hair experiences? Let me know down below in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Toodles.